I'm just putting the finishing touches on a documentary about my dear wife, Natalia. For 67 years, she and her cousin thought each were dead, being separated in the Battle of Leningrad in 1941. I placed our family heritage onto one of the websites, and instead of using my wife's adopted name of Lysis, I put in her original name, Mittenberg, and her mother remarried in 1942. Well, one of the relatives of her cousin had heard about Netta, her father, Karl, Labova, her mother, etc. And he was putting his family history into a website. He typed in the name Mittenberg to see what would pop up. And you won't believe what he found. Then we received an email from him, and it read, Dmitry Jakov, Mittenberg family from Riga. Hello John, my name is Dmitry, I'm from Latvia, Riga City. As I understand, your wife is Natalie Mittenberg. It's unbelievable. My grandmother, Egrova Mariana Alexandrovna, mother was Vera Nikolina Chomakova and had a sister called Labova, which had two children, Annetta and an Ernest, and a husband, Karl. But my grandmother still has a photograph of their family. And then of World War II begins. They disappear somewhere in Latvia. My grandmother tried to find them, but can't. Please tell me, are you these people? With best regards, Dmitry. Yes, Natalia was that person. And over the months since February in 2009, we corresponded, and finally, in September, we made the trip to meet the cousin that had thought each other were dead for 67 years. This is the documentary.
We are meeting Mariana, that is her daughter, and that is her Elena, her other daughter, who is my only cousin that we know of. She is the only daughter of my mother's eldest sister, Vera. Mother's family had probably 11 or more children. Only that one has survived that we know of. The rest of them have been buried either in St. Petersburg, died through starvation, or else in war. My two uncles were in the army, and one was in the Navy. He perished in the battle of Caspian Sea. The other one was partisan, was wounded and lived a year after the war, but died, leaving a daughter, but we can't seem to be able to get in touch with her. So the whole family has disintegrated to me and Mariana and her two daughters and our family from this very large clan. There is nothing left, only crumbs and old people that remember. We will remember something, but our children might not know so much. So it is important to see what and where we came from and why we are here. We were presented with a lovely gift of teas, sweets and a tablecloth from Marina Svetlana and Mariana. We stopped at Mariana's house, which is their holidays house at the sea, and they received us with very warm welcome and many tears, and we had so much to talk. Mariana said that the next day we will be talking about all our bones and find out where they are all buried, and it's only the crumbs of our lives that are being put together at the moment, but we are going to make the best of it while we are here. Mariana wanted to know how was it that we were lost suddenly and no one could find us. I said to her, my mother always runs, and lots of times we didn't know where we were running or how we got there. On the trains that we were, some of them were diverted, some of them just stopped in the middle of nowhere. We had to get out, and that's how we traveled. We didn't even know ourselves where we were, but we are trying to get to Siverskaya to find my family, and this is our very important assignment, and we hope to get a taxi. We visited Mariana's flat. She lives on the third floor. The units were built by the army for the Russian army officers, and it's now all privately owned. She has 3-room apartment, bedroom, kitchen, lounge, and a lovely balcony with lots of plants overlooking a lake. But it's overgrown with trees, but it's still very pretty. She showed me her balcony garden and the view from the terrace, very pretty and very lovely and fresh. There's lots of birches and other trees.
А вот кошка ходит. Кошечка, это ее выпустили. Бездомная. Неточка, вот там озеро за дорогой, вот вдали. Вот это озеро сейчас.
Svetlana and I talked about our many years apart as a family. The war has split us, and we totally lost touch and thought that we will never see each other. But we always believed in our saints and icons, and this was my grandmother's icon. Our family nearly perished during the war. During the blockade in St. Petersburg, my grandfather died, my grandmother died, my 2 uncles perished in the war. The third one died from wounds a year later, and my aunt lived until 92. She was a doctor in a tank brigade, received wounds, got better and was sent back to the front, but lived until 91. Mariana visits the Remembrance Day every year and receives a medal for her family contribution during the war. They celebrate or commiserate all. This is the soldiers that were recently found in a forest, dug up and reburied in a common grave with their helmets on top. Only bones by now were found, and no ID were taken. There were over 500 that think could be more buried in that forest. Family of survivors are getting smaller. My mother would have loved it. I told Mariana. She loved fishing and she liked to be near the water. Mariana loved
Raspberry bush.
catch the fish.
Wild.
This is raspberry tree. These fishermen catch the fish and feed the cats, so they multiply and there's more and more of them. houses very interesting. Mostly one room with an entrance hall.
Celies mana līgavī, celies mana līgavī, jaugai līdis nodziedā, jaugai līdis nodziedā.
And now I'm talking Latvian language. We were absolutely sad to leave Riga and the family because we thought it is very unlikely that we will be back and have their company. Dmitry in his bunk. Svetlana getting ready. That's the feast that we produced. Very lovely.
Russian tradition.
In the middle of the night, 2 o'clock, we had to be woken over by the Russian border control, which asked us, they took the passports and asked us about. We went through Siverskoye, which was under German control. This was a totally partisan village. Everybody, even my mother's nurse, her husband was in the woods, and the housekeeper we had, her daughter was in the woods, and the German patrols came on a regular basis trying to fish them out. But they managed to blow the riots every third or second night somewhere far away from the village, because if it was near the village they would have come or shot few villages, but they made sure that it was so far away the Germans couldn't work out which village was involved. We went to see Mariana's house in Pargalovo on train. And then a bus, very comfortable and a good journey for us. I remember very little of it, but I remember a bus ride as a child. Of course, I would remember that. This was a very small village with over maybe 3,000 houses in all in about 10 kilometers. Pargalovo is 20 kilometers from the center of the St. Petersburg. This is a street, Ozerskaya улица. Birch trees were there probably, but very tiny. I can't remember big trees there at all. This is the house that Mariana lived in as a child, and we went to visit her in about 1937 or thereabouts. We played with lots of toys upstairs. Mariana spent her childhood there with her mother, and she lived there for 24 years.
I came here with my mother to visit Mariana, and upstairs was a lovely room. We had many toys, and this garden, the trees were about 6 feet tall, and she had phlox and daisies and bluebells and full of flowers. Now it's a forest.
It's so different now. I didn't recognize it at all. It's so overgrown. I suppose you remember things that you want to. Houses are really under bad repairs. Goats in the garden eating flowers, that's common sight.